When you hear the word stimulus, it probably sounds like a lifeline, money coming your way to ease the pressure of bills, groceries, and rising living costs. And with all the headlines about Trump's new 2025 stimulus rebate program for seniors, it's no surprise that people are excited, confused, and maybe even a little skeptical. After all, we've seen promises before, and not all of them delivered what people expected. That's why it's so important to cut through the noise and get to the truth. Because this program isn't just about handing out free checks. It comes with rules, qualifications, and implications that every senior needs to understand. Some will benefit greatly, others may not see a cent. And the difference comes down to knowing how it really works. In this talk, I'm going to break it all down. We'll cover what the stimulus actually is, who qualifies, the exact steps you need to take to claim it, and most importantly, how to use it wisely so it actually makes a difference in your financial future. By the end, the 48, you won't just know the headlines, you'll know the truth. Understand what the stimulus really is whenever a new government program is announced, especially one labeled as a stimulus. Most people jump to the conclusion that it means free money. But the reality is never that simple. To truly benefit from something like Trump's new 2025 stimulus rebate program for seniors, you have to understand exactly what it is, how it works, and what it's designed to do. Otherwise, you risk setting yourself up for disappointment or, worse, missing out on money that could have been yours. Let's start with the basics. A stimulus isn't just about handing out checks. It's about boosting the economy by putting money into people's pockets so they can spend it. The government knows that when seniors have more disposable income, they use it for essentials like healthcare, groceries, utilities, or even helping family members. That spending doesn't just help the individual, it supports local businesses and strengthens the wider economy. So, at its core, this program is as much about fueling the economy as it is about helping seniors. Now, here's where most people get confused. A stimulus can take many forms. In some cases, it's a direct payment, cash deposited into your bank account or sent as a check. In other cases, it might come in the form of tax credits, meaning you save money when you file your taxes instead of receiving a lump sum up front. It could also appear as expanded benefits through existing programs like Social Security boosts, Medicare support, or rebates on specific expenses like energy or healthcare. The important thing to realize is this: not every stimulus looks like a one-time COVID-style check landing in your mailbox. If you're only looking for that, you might completely miss the real value of this program. For example, let's say the rebate comes as a VERS 200 tax credit. That might not feel like free cash in hand today, but if it lowers your tax bill or increases your refund in April, that's just as valuable, sometimes even more, depending on your situation. Another layer you need to understand is the timeline. Programs like these rarely roll out overnight. Politicians make big announcements, but the details, eligibility rules, application steps, payment schedules often take weeks or even months to finalize. That's why it's important not to fall for rumors or misinformation spreading online. Instead, look at official government announcements, IRS updates, or trusted financial resources. If you rely on social media chatter, you might end up misinformed, and that could cost you real money. A lot of seniors also overlook how these programs tie into their existing benefits. For example, will the stimulus affect Social Security payments? Will it impact Medicare premiums? In most cases, stimulus rebates are designed not to interfere with core benefits, but you need to be aware of how they interact. Some seniors may even qualify for additional state-level support if they receive the federal rebate, which can amplify the benefit if you know where to look. The other big truth to understand is that no government program is perfect. There will be confusion, paperwork, and sometimes mistakes. Some people will qualify and not realize it. Others will assume they're eligible when they're not. That's why knowledge is power here. Understanding the fine print makes the difference between being frustrated or walking away with the maximum benefit available to you. For example, imagine two seniors living in the same neighborhood. One takes the time to learn the details, fills out the right forms, and ensures their tax information is updated. They end up receiving the full rebate. The other assumes it will just show up, does nothing, and misses out completely. Same program, Kate, two very different outcomes, and the only difference was knowledge. So, what does all this mean for you? It means that if you really want to take advantage of Trump's 2025 stimulus rebate program, you can't just sit back and wait for money to arrive. You need to understand what form it takes, how it's structured, and how it fits into your financial situation. That means asking questions like, is this a direct cash payment or a tax credit? Does it come automatically or do I need to apply? Will it impact my Social Security, Medicare, or other benefits? 8. What deadlines do I need to be aware of? Answering those questions will put you ahead of the crowd. Here's the bottom line. The word stimulus gets thrown around a lot, but the truth is it's not always as simple as a check in the mail. To make the most of it, you need to look deeper than the headlines, understand the details, and take action. If you do, this program can provide real financial relief and maybe even give you more breathing room than you expect. Who actually qualifies for the rebate whenever a new government stimulus is announced? The first question most people ask is, am I eligible? And with Trump's new 2025 stimulus rebate program for seniors, this question is more important than ever. Because the truth is, not everyone will qualify, and assuming you do without checking the requirements could mean missing out entirely. Understanding who qualifies comes down to three main factors: age, income, and filing status. But let's go deeper because the government never makes these things quite so simple. Age requirements, since this program is being marketed as a stimulus for seniors. The first obvious qualifier is age. Most likely, the minimum age is tied to retirement benchmarks, commonly 62 or older. Since that's the earliest, you can begin collecting Social Security benefits. However, just being 62 doesn't automatically guarantee eligibility. In past programs, full benefits often went to those 65 and older, aligning with Medicare eligibility. That's because these programs are designed to support people who are primarily living off retirement income, not still working full time. So, if you're under 62, it's unlikely you'll qualify. But if you're between 62 and 65, you might still get something, depending on how the law is written. Always check the official criteria, because age cutoffs are usually the first filter. Income limits, now here's where things get tricky. Stimulus rebates are almost always means tested. That means the government phases out benefits as income rises. For example, if your annual income is under 75,000 single or 150,000 married, you might qualify for the full rebate. But as your income rises above those thresholds, the rebate amount could shrink until it disappears completely. This is designed to target help towards seniors who truly need it, not those who are already financially secure. But it also means that some seniors with higher retirement income from pensions, investments, or part-time work may not see much benefit. The key takeaway here is that just because you're retired doesn't mean you automatically qualify. The government looks at your adjusted gross income, AGI, on your tax return. That means if you've been drawing heavily on retirement accounts or have large investment gains, it could reduce or eliminate your rebate. Tax filing status. Here's another detail most people overlook: your tax filing status. Whether you file as single, married filing jointly, or head of household affects both your eligibility and the rebate amount. For example, married couples may receive double the benefit if both spouses qualify, but only if they file jointly and both meet the age and income requirements. On the other hand, if one spouse doesn't qualify, the total rebate could be reduced. This is why it's so important for seniors to not only file taxes on time, but to understand how their filing choices affect government benefits. Even if you have low income and normally don't file a return, the IRS often requires at least a simple filing to process stimulus payments. If you skip it, you may miss out. Social Security and non-filers, one of the biggest questions seniors ask is, what if I don't file taxes? Will I still qualify? In past programs, many seniors who received Social Security, SI, or VA benefits but didn't file tax returns still qualified for payments. In those cases, the government used Social Security records instead of tax returns to determine eligibility. It's very possible the same system will be used again for the 2025 stimulus. That means even if you don't file taxes, as long as your Social Security information is up to date, you could still receive the rebate. But here's the catch. If there are errors in your records, or if your address or bank details are outdated, you could face delays or lose the payment altogether. Other disqualifiers, finally, let's talk about reasons someone might not qualify. Common disqualifiers include being claimed as a dependent. If someone else claims you on their tax return, you usually won't get the rebate yourself. High income from investments. Even if you're technically retired, large capital gains can push you over the income threshold. Residency status. Some programs require you to be a US citizen or resident for tax purposes. Non-resident seniors may be excluded. These details may sound small, but they make a huge difference in who actually gets money in their pocket. Why knowing the rules matters, let me give you an example. Imagine two seniors. John is 68, living on Social Security and a small pension. His income is under $48,000. He files taxes every year, even though he doesn't owe much. Because of that, he gets the full stimulus rebate. Linda is 70, but she's been dipping heavily into her IRA, pushing her AGI above $100,000. On paper, she looks wealthy, so her rebate is reduced to almost nothing. Same program, different outcomes, and the only difference was how their income lined up with the rules. The bottom line, not every senior qualifies for the new 2025 stimulus rebate. Age, income, and filing status all play major roles. If you want to be on the winning side, you can't just assume eligibility. You need to check the fine print, keep your tax and Social Security records up to date, and understand exactly where you fall in the requirements. Because the truth is simple. The money will go to those who understand the rules. And if you're not paying attention, you could leave thousands of dollars on the table. How to claim the stimulus without missing out? Here's the hard truth. Even if you qualify for Trump's new 2025 stimulus rebate program for seniors, you won't see a penny unless you actually claim it correctly. Too many people assume the money will automatically appear in their bank accounts, but government programs rarely work that smoothly. Missing one small step, ignoring a form, or failing to update your records could mean losing money that was supposed to help you. So, let's walk through exactly how to make sure you don't get left behind. Stay on top of deadlines. The first mistake people make is waiting too long. Government programs always have deadlines, whether it's filing taxes, submitting an application, or verifying your information. If you miss the cutoff, you miss the money. Simple as that. For example, if the rebate is tied to your 2025 tax return, you'll need to file by the April deadline. Even if you don't usually file because your income is low, and if the program requires a special claim form, that deadline may be even earlier. The smart move. Mark your calendar as soon as details are released, and don't procrastinate. Waiting until the last minute is the fastest way to miss out. File your taxes. Even if you don't owe, many seniors stop filing taxes because they don't owe any. That makes sense in most years, but in years with a stimulus, it can cost you. The IRS uses tax records to determine eligibility and send payments. No filing, no record, no rebate. So even if you live solely on Social Security and haven't filed for years, this is the time to submit at least a basic return. It doesn't have to be complicated. You can often do it for free. but it creates the paper trail the IRS needs to release your payment. In past stimulus programs, non-filers who waited often had to jump through extra hoops later, delaying their money by months. Filing now saves you the headache later. Keep your information updated. Another big reason seniors miss out is outdated information. 8. If the government doesn't know where to send your money, you won't get it. That means checking bank details if you've changed accounts since your last tax return. 8. Update your direct deposit info with the IRS or Social Security. Otherwise, they'll send it to the wrong account and you'll wait for a paper check. Address. If you've moved, update your mailing address. Stimulus checks don't forward like regular mail. Social Security records make sure your personal details are accurate. Something as small as a spelling error or mismatched birth date can delay payments. The fix is simple. Log into your IRS or Social Security account online or call and confirm. A 10-minute check can save months of waiting. Watch out for scams. Unfortunately, stimulus programs attract scammers like moths to a flame. Fraudsters know seniors are a target and they'll send emails, texts, or calls pretending to be the IRS, asking for your personal information. Here's the truth. The IRS or Social Security will never call, text, or email you to ask for bank details. They already have the information they need. If someone is asking for payment to process your stimulus, it's a scam. The only safe places to get information are official government websites, trusted financial advisors, or reputable news outlets. Protecting yourself from scams is just as important as claiming the money itself. Understand the claiming process depending on how the program is structured. Claiming may look different. Direct deposit. If your bank details are already on file, the money may go straight into your account. Paper checks. If not, 8. You'll get a check in the mail, but only if your address is current. Tax credit if it's structured as a rebate on your 2025 taxes. You'll only see the money after filing your return. Application form. Some programs require filling out a specific form, especially for non-filers or people with unusual circumstances. Seek help if needed. Not everyone is comfortable navigating tax forms or online systems. If that's you, don't ignore the program out of frustration. Local senior centers, non-profit organizations, and even the IRS volunteer income tax assistance VITR program can help seniors file for free. It's worth reaching out. Paying a little attention now could mean thousands of dollars in your pocket. Real life example. Imagine two seniors. Robert, age 72, files his taxes every year, keeps his bank info updated, and watches the IRS announcements closely. When the rebate is released, his payment shows up in his account within weeks. Ellen, age 75, hasn't filed taxes in years and recently changed banks, but never updated her information. Her rebate is delayed for months, and she has to chase it down with paperwork. Same eligibility, different outcomes, all because one stayed prepared and the other didn't. The bottom line, claiming the 2025 stimulus rebate isn't automatic. It requires action, filing taxes, updating records, meeting deadlines, and avoiding scams. Seniors who take these steps will get what they're owed. Those who don't may miss out completely. So, if you want this stimulus to work for you, don't wait. Act early, stay informed, and make sure your paperwork is airtight. 8. Because in the end, the truth is simple. The money will go to those who prepare, not those who sit back and hope. The bigger picture, how it affects your financial future. When people hear the word stimulus, they often think it's just a quick time check to cover groceries or bills. And while that's true, it can absolutely help with day-to-day expenses. The reality is much deeper. Programs like Trump's new 2025 stimulus for seniors can have a long-term impact on your financial security, your lifestyle, and even the decisions you make about retirement. The key is understanding how this fits into the bigger picture of your financial future. It's not just about the check. It's about breathing room. Most seniors live on fixed incomes. Social Security doesn't stretch as far as it used to. Pensions are becoming rare, and inflation keeps driving up the cost of essentials. A stimulus payment might seem small in the grand scheme, but it provides something most seniors desperately need: the breathing room. 8. That breathing room means you don't have to choose between paying for medication or buying healthy food. It might mean covering a sudden utility spike during the winter or fixing a broken appliance without dipping into emergency savings. Even if it's a one-time rebate, it can give you space to stop worrying for a moment and catch your financial balance. And when you're less stressed about money, you can make better long-term financial decisions. The ripple effect of extra income, think about it like this. Money isn't just about what you can spend today. It's about how it influences your future choices. If you receive first $200 from the stimulus and immediately spend it all on bills, yes, that's helpful. But if you plan wisely, that same $1,200 could grow into something bigger. Here's how paying off high interest debt: if you put the money toward credit card balances, you instantly save yourself hundreds or even thousands in future interest. Investing even a modest investment in dividend stocks, index funds, or bonds can start generating passive income. Imagine turning that rebate into a snowball that keeps rolling. Emergency fund padding: if you've only got a month or two of savings, adding the rebate strengthens your safety net. That means less panic when life throws you a curveball. The way you use this extra money determines whether it disappears or becomes a tool for lasting security. How it impacts retirement planning: here's the truth. Retirement is no longer just about making it to the finish line. It's about ensuring you don't outlive your money. Every little bit counts. A1, time stimulus won't replace retirement savings, but it can extend them. For example, let's say you're withdrawing $2 a month from your savings to cover expenses. If a stimulus check covers 1 month's bills, that's $2,000 less you need to pull from your retirement account. Over time, that means your savings last longer. It might also give you flexibility. Maybe you were considering taking Social Security early because you needed the income. A stimulus rebate could allow you to wait a little longer, which permanently increases your monthly Social Security benefit. That's not just short-term help. That's a long-term boost to your financial future. The psychological side of money: don't underestimate how a program like this affects confidence. Many seniors worry constantly about money. What happens if prices keep rising, if they face a medical emergency, or if their savings run out? That constant fear eats away at quality of life. A stimulus may not solve all those problems, but it can remind seniors that they're not forgotten, that support is available, and that they do have options. That mental reassurance is powerful. When you feel financially secure, even temporarily, you can approach life with more optimism. And optimism often leads to better decision making. It won't last forever. Here's the other side of the coin. Relying on stimulus programs is dangerous. They're temporary by design, tied to politics, and not guaranteed year after year. Seniors who depend solely on them risk falling into a cycle of waiting for the next check, instead of building their own financial resilience. That's why the smart move is to treat any stimulus as a bonus, not a lifeline. Use it to strengthen your long-term position, whether that means investing, paying off debt, or building savings. When you do that, you're no longer at the mercy of government programs. You take control. Building habits for the future: think of this stimulus as a chance to reset your money habits. Instead of splurging, ask yourself, how can I use this to make my future better? Maybe you start by setting aside a portion for an emergency fund, another portion for investing, and only then using the rest for expenses. That mindset shift is powerful. It turns a short-term program into a long-term strategy. Over time, those small, disciplined choices add up, and before you know it, you've built a safety net that doesn't rely on anyone else. The bottom line: Trump's 2025 stimulus for seniors isn't just a check, it's a stepping stone. It can relieve immediate pressure, extend your retirement savings, and give you opportunities to strengthen your financial position. But the real value comes from what you do with it. If you treat it like a one-time windfall, it'll disappear. But if you see it as part of the bigger financial picture, it could help shape a more secure, independent future. So the truth is simple. This stimulus is not the solution to everything, but it can be the spark that helps you take control of your money and rewrite the future of your retirement.